Hello, my name is Christina Chanya Lenjo, and today I'll be talking about domestic violence and its effects on the victim's mental health. Domestic violence takes many forms. It could be physical, psychological, emotional, verbal, and even sexual, and economic. It's usually anchored on two aspects, that is, the imbalances of power and control. So, usually, the perpetrator or the abuser will use manipulation to be able to gain control over the victim to the point that the victim doubts their own sanity. Now, victims of abuse are at a high risk of developing mental health conditions, and these conditions can be lifelong. Yeah, even after they've moved into new relationships which are healthy, they could still be experiencing some of these mental health conditions. So, it is very important to protect your mental health. Now, some of these conditions include depression, anxiety, post traumatic stress disorder, victims who also feel that they are trapped in a relationship and they have no way out will usually have a lot of suicidal thoughts. Some will attempt suicide, and others will even complete suicide. Some of the victims will engage in self harm activities, for example, cutting themselves up or pulling out their hairs in order to just release some of that emotional pain that is locked in their system. They'll also experience panic attacks. They'll be hypervigilant, feeling like there's a lot of danger surrounding them. And so they'll be engaging in activities that are meant to protect themselves, like locking up doors and windows, or, coming up with escape routes, some behaviors around protecting themselves. They'll also experience nightmares. Now, panic attacks, hypervigilance, and nightmares could be a result of post traumatic stress disorder, but they could also happen on their own. There are other effects as well, such as low self esteem and low self confidence that are as a result of abuse. Women will end up mistrusting men, for example, and the social relationships will be affected in various ways because as you're dealing with mental health conditions which are untreated, as you're dealing with the painful experiences of abuse, your social relationships will be affected, your relationships at work as well will be affected. Basically, your whole functioning as an individual will be affected in one way or another. Now, remember that men in abusive relationships usually do not report cases of abuse or violence against them because, of course, of fear of judgment. People expect men to be strong, people expect men to protect themselves, but it is usually not the case. And so these men end up suffering in silence, and it can be very, very painful. So it's important that we avoid, staying in abusive relationships because the more you stay, the higher your chances of developing mental health conditions and even physical health conditions that are as a result of are a result of mental health conditions, and of course the effects of the abuse, like injuries. Um, it's also important to note that the perpetrator might use the development of these mental health conditions against the victim, and especially in a court of law. And they will use this, of course, to repress the victim and oppress them further. For example, a woman who takes a man to court, or their husband to court who's been abusing them, the husband can use their mental health conditions like depression or panic attacks to prove to the court of law that the woman is of unsound mind or they're not mentally stable, and therefore they cannot get custody of the children. And this can really be painful for the woman, and it can leave lasting scars, lasting psychological scars and emotional scars. So it's very important that anyone undergoing domestic violence to seek immediate help, seek professional help, do not wish it away. Do not stay in the relationship hoping that things will get better. Usually they don't get better. So talk to trusted family and friends, and always seek help. Remember, the help comes in the form of both medical and psychological help. So go for counseling and also go for medical treatment to treat the mental health conditions and even the physical or medical conditions that could have occurred because of domestic violence. And always remember that you need to leave the relationship. So establish a safety plan to escape from the relationship, keeping in mind that the abuser should not know that you're about to escape or you're planning to escape, because it can be very dangerous to the victim. So always remember to take care of your mental health, because there's no health without mental health. And always seek help. Always cry for help, because there's no point of staying in an abusive relationship to the point that you die, and therefore, you know, yeah, your life just ends like that. So thank you so much for listening, and take care of your mental health. Thank you.